Alright, I have finished tracing that flower shape. The next part is a choice. We have embroidery hoops to use. So an embroidery hoop is something that is going to stretch the burlap to make it easier to stitch. So I put one part of the embroidery hoop on the front, the other part on the back like a sandwich, and then they kind of fit inside of each other. And it just creates kind of a smoother way of keeping the fabric flat to stitch. And you can screw this a little bit to tighten it up so it doesn't slip out. So that's a choice. Some of you might prefer to just stitch with the fabric flat. So I have tied my needle onto my yarn and I'm ready to start to stitch. So I'm thinking about, am I practicing back stitch, cross stitch, diagonal stitch, satin stitch? What am I going to do? I think I'm just going to start with the basic running stitch. So I can pick any spot to start. My needle is always starting at the back side, and when I pull it through I'm going to leave a little tail, and I'm going to tape that tail on the back. Now in the running stitch I'm going to start going up around this petal. So my running stitch goes down and I leave a little space and I can come back up. And I'm looking for that outline of the petal to follow. So it's not a straight line for this project. I'm following the shape of my design. Now if you can remember, there was a faster way to do the running stitch. I could take my needle and I could kind of go in and out, which works well for straighter edges. Don't know if it's going to work so well for my petal. So I'm going to get a couple stitches in here and then I'm going to decide if I'm going to continue with this, if I like it, if I don't like it, and I am going to follow a pattern, having a thought, and on your finished design you need to have at least 3 different kinds of stitches. So when you look at my butterfly, I have a cross stitch, I have a satin stitch, I have the outline as a back stitch, the antennas would be considered a running stitch, so that's 4. And this would also be considered a running stitch, so that's still just 4. You have to have 3. So maybe in my flower I continue with my running stitch. Maybe in the center I have a satin stitch where it's completely solid, like the pink. And I could also think about creating a border or something on the outside, or adding a design in the petals. So you want to go beyond just the outline of your design. You want to fill designs on the inside and even think about creating something on the back or on the border. Taping any loose edges on the back, and that is our stitching project.